C. Platform, can you hear me?
Yes, you're coming through loud and clear, Mario.
Okay, thank you, but okay, I'll do that. Yes, if possible, do you mind just to unmute your camera, please, man?
Mario?
No, what I'm saying, we could take this out.
Mario? Mario, can you test with me? Mario?
We can hear you, sir.
I needed to test with Mario who's inside the chamber.
Ephraim, can you hear me? Ephraim, can you hear me? Yes, Ephraim. You said I'm a kid with you.
It's done, Mario. I have to leave the platform because I want.
Platform, can you hear me? Yeah, it's good. Welcome, Chief. Tanya, can you hear me?
Mario, we can hear you loud and clear. Police is going to switch on his camera now for you.
Okay, thank you. Platform, can you hear me? Hey, girl, are you good?
Hi, Mario.
Hi. So you can see me clearly, loud and clear? Sound quality?
Yes, you are coming through loud and clear.
Okay, thank you.
Recording in progress.
Madam Speaker,
There will now be a moment of silent prayer and meditation. May we be seated? Order, honorable members. The only item on today's order paper is questions addressed to the Deputy President. There are 4 supplementary questions on each question. Parties have given an indication of which questions their members wish to pose a supplementary question on. Adequate notice was given to parties for this purpose. The members who will pose supplementary questions will be recognized by the presiding officer. In allocating opportunities for supplementary question, the principle of fairness, among others, have been applied. If a member who is supposed to ask a supplementary question through the virtual platform is unable to do so due to technical difficulties, the party whip on duty will be allowed to ask the question on behalf of their member or another designated member. When all the supplementary questions have been answered by the Deputy President, we will proceed to the next question on the question paper. And I do hope that our members on the virtual platform will make sure that they have their system on mute if they are not required to speak or not taking any point of order, so that we can have a smooth process in terms of the work. The first question has been asked by Honorable J.S. Malima. The question is given his delegated role to implement rapid response interventions on service delivery and troubleshooting service delivery hotspots in the country. And considering the dire state of municipal governance in the Republic that leads to chronic lack of service delivery, what has the Deputy President found to be the reasons that there have been no notable improvements in governance in some municipalities since he assumed his role? And whether he has found that municipalities in the main, particularly in the Western Cape, offer the best model for the municipal governance than elsewhere in the country. If not, what is the position in this regard? If so, what are the relevant details? Deputy President.
thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if you may indulge me briefly, before I start answering, just to welcome the decision of the Pietermaritzburg Court in making a decision that the death of our former president, Chief Luthuli, was not an accident. We welcome that, and I do hope that the authorities will leave no stone unturned to get to the truth. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me thank Honorable Ntangwini. I'm told she's going to take on the question asked by Honorable Malema. I wanted to thank him for raising this important question about the state of our municipalities in various parts of our country. Honorable Speaker, as part of our outreach programs, we have been engaging with various municipalities and communities to get a comprehensive understanding of governance and service delivery challenges. Reports from the Auditor General and COGTA have also revealed that poor performance of municipalities stem from corruption, financial mismanagement, lack of administrative capacity, lack of accountability, skills shortages, and government challenges, all of which impede service delivery. Among other challenges, we have also observed that coalition arrangement at local government level often result in instability and compromise governance in those affected municipalities. As a result, we have decided to convene a national dialogue, and this we did in 2023, last year, August. And the national dialogue agreed on the following principles: putting people first, combating poverty and deprivation, building a prosperous and inclusive economy, building a united, non-racial and democratic society, good governance, and no tolerance to corruption. The national dialogue culminated in the development of draft amendments to the Local Government Municipal Structures Act, which aims to address issues like coalition instability and improvements of governance. COGTA will soon table a bill to Cabinet for approval. Honorable Speaker, as part of my responsibility to support the President in the implementation of the district development model, we continue to coordinate all spheres of government to improve municipal performance and to address community concerns. In this regard, I've been visiting and interacting with municipalities to have a full appreciation of governance challenges and service delivery blockages. On the 2nd of October this year, we conducted a whole of government service delivery outreach program at the OR Tambo district in the Eastern Cape province. The visit was aimed at addressing service delivery bottlenecks, engage with the community of Kunu, whilst evaluating progress made in the rollout of the DDM. Through the Water Task Team and the Interministerial Committee on Service Delivery, we are also strengthening support initiatives and intervention to address water-related challenges, water infrastructure maintenance, and upgrades. On the 6th of June this year, we launched a Clean Cities, Towns and Villages campaign in Kliptown in Soweto in partnership with SALGA. The Clean Cities, Town and Villages campaign is a nationwide initiative aimed at promoting a cleaner environment and also improving service delivery. We continue to encourage communities to take charge in the cleaning of their cities, towns, and villages. As part of the government response to local government challenges, COGTA is currently engaged in a process to review the 1998 white paper on local government as part of Operation Vulindlela Phase 2 reforms aimed at creating a fit-for-purpose local government system. Parliament is also currently processing the Public Service Commission bill, which will extend the mandate of the PSC to local government. Honorable Speaker, we have noted the 2023-24 municipal audit outcomes released on the 28th of May this year. In terms of this report, 140 municipalities, that's about 55%, achieved unqualified and clean audit outcomes. In this regard, an increase in clean audits from 34 in 2022-23 to 41 in 23-24 municipalities. While this is not a significant improvement, it is worth noting as it reflects an improved level of commitment of municipal leadership and officials to uphold financial discipline, internal controls, and consequence management. While several municipalities in the Western Cape are doing well in terms of audit outcomes, it is important to note that there is a significant and persistent disparity between the well-being of many residents residing in township and informal settlement of the province of the Western Cape. Although the province is often recognized for strong financial governance overall, this does not reflect the lived experience of many Black communities who continue to struggle with socio-economic challenges. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, the Western Cape's municipal governance model is not the best in the country. Shall I repeat?
Order, honorable members.
I was saying,
Order, honorable members. Let's allow the Deputy President to conclude his answers.
Can you please repeat?
I'm
Speaker?
concluding.
Order, honorable member.
I'm concluding, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, let's allow the Deputy President. I will take note of your hand, but let's allow the Deputy President to conclude.
In fact, this is my final sentence. I'm saying, therefore, the Western Cape's municipal governance model is not the best in the country. Let me conclude, as it fails to address the legacy of apartheid-era spatial segregation. The optimal model, Honorable Speaker, that we require is the one that would accommodate all individuals, regardless of their race or color. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Order, before we take the next question, there was a request for a point of order. Honorable member.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Please accept my apologies for interrupting the Deputy President.
Yes.
The flight that I had, sometimes we all experience it affects one's ears. So I couldn't hear so nicely. If the Deputy President can just repeat, please, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable member, that's not a point of order. Order, honorable member, it's not a point of order. Actually, without you raising a question, Deputy President did repeat his last sentence. Order, honorable member. Deputy, Honorable Ntlangwini, your supplementary question.
Thank you very much, Speaker and Deputy President. And I'm taking the question on behalf of our President, CIC. Deputy President, we hear about the outreach programs and the uninspiring national dialogue that you are alluding to. However, we can't ignore the fact that the Auditor General year on year are reporting these mishaps within our municipalities. only 41 municipalities received clean audits, and some municipalities failed to even give and submit financial statements. So what interventions or why have national government failed to make decisive interventions to redirect local government into an effective vessel for service delivery? And we do want you to repeat the fact. Are you disagreeing with what Mr. Ramaphosa have said? The DA Western Cape is one of the best models. Thank you.
Deputy President.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Tlangwin. The president was quoted out of context. And let me tell you why. When the president addressed our councillors, his first emphasis was that councillors should learn from one another. That's where he started. He then went on that he has come across this information that there are a lot of municipalities or many municipalities in the Western Cape that have clean audit. He says, go and see what they are doing as well. But what he did not say was that the Western Cape is really the panacea for good governance and service delivery and everything. He was focusing on clean audits. By the way, in some of the municipalities that have clean audits are not necessarily in the Western Cape. But the president was saying, as you get an experience of learning from one another, also look at the Western Cape as well. But he was not saying, oh, well, you know, the Western Cape knows it all. In fact, Honorable Tlangwin, I was going to invite Honorable Malema to go with me to Khayelitsha, if he has time next week. Because when you go to Khayelitsha and some of the townships and informal settlement in this province, I don't see the good governance at all. So it's one thing to say you've got a clean audit, but it's one thing if you are changing the lives of people for the better. And that's really where we must focus. But you know, the media has got its own way of reporting. They're only focused on this issue, giving an impression that our president was praising the DA. That was not the case. You are happy, Honorable.
Thank you, Deputy
Can we
President.
not have an interpolation? Let me allow Deputy President to finish, and then I'll take your point of order.
Yeah. No, I'm done. I'm just saying I will be visiting Khayelitsha next week, and I'm
What's your point
inviting
of-
the CRC to come with me.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Deputy President. We'll convey the message to the President. I just want to also allude to municipalities where we govern in Koroleni and Seng, where we have MMCs.
So-
they got clean audits.
Order, Honorable Member. I've heard the political point, but it's not the point of order. Can I now move to the next supplementary question, Honorable Ndamase?
House Speaker.
Honorable Mawuto, what is the point of order?
Yeah, no. I just wanted to assist the Deputy President. I didn't want to interject when you were speaking. President Malema was in Khayelitsha in July. When we dated our 12 years.
Honorable.
I don't know this
Honorable
thing of
Mawuto.
the ANC inviting president. The sitting president was also inviting him to Marikana. I keep thinking obsession our president. Nale program Honorable Speaker. We're fine.
Honorable Mawuto, unfortunately, you are not giving us a point of order. Secondly, the one delegated by Honorable Malema, who is in this house, have responded. So I just want us to allow and continue the process You have responded. Is your senior, but I'm helping your senior because she is not in the room, so she might not have heard you. So can we continue with the next supplementary?
Paulo Freire, Honorable Malema Ntlangwini once said, whoever
Honorable Ndambase, can you please ask a supplementary question? You've got 53 seconds. Order, Mam Kawula.
the question, Honorable Deputy President, is as you understand the symbiotic relationship between the municipal councils and the institution of traditional leadership, as epitomized by your ukukahlela visit to Kumkani Ndlovu of the Nyandeni Kingdom on the 2nd of October, can you shed light on the following? One, your attempts to improve the conditions of service, inclusive of pensions and medical aid for traditional leaders. Secondly, how far have you gone thus far in fulfilling the commitments the government made at Nyandeni to improve the conditions of roads and put agriculture at the center of economic development of that area? Thank you.
Honorable Ndamase, may I advise you that you have departed completely from the initial question because you are now specifically asking on Nyandeni, but I would leave it to the Deputy President to answer. Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorables. Speaker, I will just be brief, Honorable, and I must say that, yes, indeed, as we visit various areas in the country, we do interface with traditional leaders. We meet with communities. They do raise these issues about, tools of trade, their remunerations, etc. Those things are being addressed as we speak. In fact,
Order, Honorable Moodley. Deputy President, you can continue.
In fact, as I was saying, Honorable Dama said that I've had a meeting last month with the House of Traditional Leaders, as amongst others, we're addressing those issues. My visit to Enyandeni was really about looking at service delivery interventions. In fact, Honorable Speaker, when I visited Enyandeni, I had 4 ministers and 3 deputy ministers, Minister Ramkhopa, Minister Ndabeni, Noncho, Minister Mantash, because what we want to do is to make sure that when we visit these areas, we are able not just to listen, but to be able to intervene. And that's why the ministers were there. Deputy Minister of Human Settlement, Mambehlalo was there, Deputy Minister of Police, because they are also raising issues of crime and so on. Deputy Minister Litsike, Namash. What I've done now, in conclusion, I have now returned to all of them to give me reports on how they have now intervened in those issues that were raised about roads and so on and so on. So we will get a report from ministers in the coming week or so, and we'll be able to compile a comprehensive report of our interventions. Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you. I've noted that there's a hand. I'm not sure there's a point of order, Honorable Mentor.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, it's a point of order in terms of the rules of the House that the member who asked the question literally took the motion of the EFF at the Eastern Cape Legislature without acknowledging that is the EFF motion which was rejected by the ANC in the Eastern Cape Legislature, and asked the Deputy President about it.
Order, Honorable Member, thank you very much. But actually, I had dealt with the point of order of the member because it was departing from the original question. So the other matter, I think you might have to address differently. But in respect of this question here, it was out of the original question, and I've advised the member accordingly. Honorable members, may I ask, some of you who are in the House you are present, so you don't have to log in online because you do disturb the system. I've picked up some of the members are watching the proceedings of this house while they are here. Honorable Van Rooyen.
Thank you, Speaker. I find it very interesting how ANC comrades continue to talk good about the president that is disowning them on any platform that they get. Very disturbing. Deputy President, your so-called GNU interventions to help municipalities seems to be missing the targets, all of them. As MK Party, we say lack of appropriate skills in municipalities and provincial government departments are two major challenges, rendering these interventions useless. We call for complete overhaul of municipality skill base, recruit appropriate people for the job, stop allocating billions to municipalities while they can't even write financial statements. Why don't you develop legislation allowing municipalities allocation to be top sliced for building these skills, instead of opting for them to be used to appoint a consultant, which is not sustainable? They are appointing consultants with this money. Why can't we legislate that they develop skills?
Honorable member, your time is up. Thank you. Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Van Rooyen, we are in fact intervening in that context of skills. That's one of our big priorities, where we ensure that people in municipalities do understand how to deal with resources. And in the main, in most cases, not really councillors that deal with resources. It's the administrators, your city managers or municipal managers and other officials. And that's where we are also focusing to intervene to make sure things are done properly. We're not just pushing these billions just to any municipality. We look at the capacity. You know that the metro municipalities have much better capacity than other local municipalities. So we do look at that as well. And through the DDM model, we are able to say maybe this kind of project should be dealt with at the national level. But we will interact with municipalities. So we are very conscious of the fact that in some municipalities in the past, when resources are sent, they are sent back to national government, if not wasted, which is not good. Because, you know, when you send the money back to national government, you can still get a clean audit, but you have not delivered services. And that's why we are very conscious to ensure that when resources are sent, there's capacity to deliver, to implement, and the resources must be spent properly. So all these issues we are doing now, reviewing the white paper, coming up with new legislation through COCTIS to address exactly that we don't have municipalities that don't know what they are doing, but they keep getting resources. So you are spot on. We are addressing exactly that. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Deputy President. We now move to Honorable J.B. Lorimer.
Thank you, Speaker. Deputy President, you know, if you only stay in upmarket luxury housing, you sometimes take things for granted and you're not sure what to look for when you go and assess a poorer area like Khayelitsha. So when you go to Khayelitsha, look at the electricity, which is supplied by the municipality, not by Zinyoka. Look at the taps where when you open them, water comes out. There are many tarred roads and there's regular refuse removal. In fact, Cape Town has the largest provision of free electricity and water for indigent households in the country. Now the question, Deputy President, you say that the Western Cape is not the best model of municipal governance. Could you let us know which province is?
Honourable Member, Deputy President.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Lorimer, you are quite right. If I go to Camps Bay, water comes out of the term in Camps Bay. No problem about that. It can't, listen to me. When I go to Camps Bay, water comes out of the tap. When I go to Kailicha, it's not the case. That's the point I'm making. And remember, it's not the fact that some of us stay in suburbs. We grew up in townships, and we still have our families there. So when I'm saying I'm going to go to Kailicha, I'm not saying I'm going to go for the first time. We are always there and we can see. In fact, if you go with me to Kailicha now, and we need to score the DA's intervention, I'll give you 0 for the work you are doing there. 0, completely 0. Yeah, maybe in Camps Bay, I may give you 6. But in Kailicha, Kukuletu, Bontenyevel, Nyanga, Michel's Play, I give you 0. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Order, the next question.
Madam Speaker, point of order.
Is that a point of order?
It is, Madam Speaker.
Okay, what's the point of order?
The question was very direct. It was, which province does the Deputy President consider to be a better model of municipal delivery?
Not the Western Cape, otherwise the people wouldn't have voted for the PA and dump the DA.
Order. Honorable members. Order. Honorable members, I don't like to raise my voice when we're in the house, but at times you enable me to do so when you can't even hear yourselves. And I want to remind you also on the rules. The rules say the person asked the question must answer the question. It doesn't say how. But I've always assisted you to remind members of the executive about the core question. Similarly, as I remind you members, when sometimes you veer off the original question in your supplementary question. Indeed, I was going to help you, but now you actually came up front to just say, Deputy President, you can just assist Honorable Lorima. Which of the province is the best run? Where do you find best run municipalities, if there is any province? Wait, allow the Deputy President to answer.
It's certainly not the Western Cape.
Order.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I think the Deputy President will come back next time and say, in terms of the scores, who has what scoring, and maybe there's no one who is best. We will see that time. Question number 14, order, has been asked by Honorable Mpapane. The question is, considering that the market inquiry conducted by the Competition Commission into the fresh produce market and their findings in January 2025, that although the fresh produce market exceeds 53 billion, participation by historically disadvantaged farmers remains minimal. To what extent has the government acted upon the recommendations of the Competition Commission to implement measures to increase the annual sales of small-scale and historically disadvantaged farmers through national fresh produce markets to achieve increased participation of historically disadvantaged persons in the agricultural value chain? Honorable Deputy President.
Honorable Speaker, let me thank Honorable Mpapane for posing this critical question and for highlighting the Competition Commission's report released on the 13th of January this year. The report makes a recommendation to promote competition lower entry barriers, and the creation of an inclusive and competitive fresh produce value chain. The report estimates that the total value of fresh produce sold through the national fresh produce markets was over 21 billion rand in 2022, with the overall domestic fresh produce market, including formal retail and fresh produce markets, currently worth over 53 billion rands annually. This is an indication of steady revenue growth over the past 2 years. However, participation by historically disadvantaged farmers remain minimal. Honorable Speaker, addressing equity and inclusion of small-scale and previously disadvantaged farmers is crucial for achieving sustainable, inclusive, and competitive fresh produce value chains in South Africa. The inclusion of emerging Black farmers in commercial agriculture is critical for the transformation of the agricultural sector and our land reform program. The ongoing land reform process and release of government land demonstrate our government's commitment to benefit emerging farmers and ensure that they contribute to the growth of South Africa's agricultural economy. Honorable Speaker, in September this year, I visited Klein Ezeljacht Farm in Waterskloof local municipality in Caledon with Minister Nyonso and other cabinet ministers to discuss land reform programs and community development challenges with emerging farmers in the Overberg district here in the Western Cape. As part of our oversight visit, we also attended the NAMPO Harvest Day in Botterville, and that was on the 15th of May, and then back to NAMPO Cape Agricultural Show in Bredasdorp on the 12th of September this year. These events alone draw over 40,000 visitors and features over 5,000 exhibitors from across the agricultural value chain, including mechanization, smart technology, inputs, financing, agricultural services, and farmer support. Through these engagements, we are focusing on improving government support to the agricultural sector, particularly to emerging Black farmers, by addressing challenges related to land reform, infrastructure, access to finance through making available title deeds, farm safety, and also access to markets. Honorable Speaker, part of the recommendation of the Competition Commission was for the Department of Agriculture to undertake a review of legal framework which national fresh produce markets currently operate. In this regard, the Department of Agriculture is developing two draft bills, namely the Agricultural Produce Agents, APA Amendment Bill, and the National Fresh Produce Market Council Bill to address the concerns raised in the report. In the meantime, the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, and other relevant state bodies are giving attention to the recommendation that relate to barriers to entry. We further welcome the Competition Commission's proposal of the target of 10% annual sales uplift for small-scale and historically disadvantaged farmers. While on the other hand, government continues to engage the US government on the reduction of the 30% unilateral tariff imposed on our exports to the US market. Through multi-sectoral collaboration with partners like Land and Agricultural Development Bank of South Africa and other commercial financiers, government will continue to support all farmers, commercial, small scale, and historically disadvantaged farmers, and ensure that the agricultural sector is representative, inclusive, and contribute to the growth of the economy and ensure food security in the country. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Deputy President. Supplementary question by Honorable Mpapane.
Ngiyabonga Sekela Mongameli ngendlela uphendule ngayo lo mbuto. Kepha tinsaye litibukene nebalimi laba ngaphambilini bebancishwe emathuba ukuthi bakhone kuncintisana kulomkhakha wekulima. Tinyendi kakhulu njengoba sewuphawulile. Kepha lekungito tona kakhulu kati leti bahluphako tindleko letikhula njalo tenzengo yemanyolo tindleko letikhula njalo tagezi tindleko neguquguquka kwesimo selitulu. So loku konke loku kwenda ukuthi bangakhoni kunciphisa nendlela yokuthi bancintisane kulomkhakha njengoba sushilo. Ingabe uhulumende solwendile yini luhlolo lwekusebenta ngempumelelo kwetinhlelo tekusekela labalimi labasafufusa kulesikhathi sanyalo kude nabo batokwati ukuthi bancintisane kulomncintiswano wale makethe emkhiqizo lemisha. Ngiyabonga.
Siyabonga Makembambane. Sekela Mongameli.
Mangibonge Somlomo. Uma sihambela abalimi kakhulu labancane, or let me call them emerging farmers, sithola ukuthi kakhulu kuyiqiniso ukuthi abanye abanazo lezinto ezibanceda kakhulu ukuthi baphumelele ngokulima, amanyoro njengoba usho, kodwa abanye bakhala kakhulu ngomhlaba. They don't have access to land. Into ebaluleke kakhulu le, even before we talk about other supports. So we focus a lot, manghamba nabo Minister Nyon, so we make sure that we release land. Kodwa ke we can't release land bese siyahamba. So hulume, what we need to do is to ensure that they get support njengoba usho kulezi zinto okhuluma ngazo. Enye into esithole kakhulu ukuthi bakhala ngayo indaba yeimali, access to finance. Uma siya kulama expo we-agricultural sector njengabo NAMPO, you find that a lot of them are complaining about access to finance, particularly the black farmers. I did say, Honorable Speaker, earlier that some of these events are attended by about 400 farmers coming through. But I did notice as I'm visiting these expos that laba abalimi abantu abamnyama abekho baningi, into esibhekile leyo, and siyabona ukuthi abekho baningi ngoba abayitholi imali ebayifunayo ukuthi baphumelele ngokulima. So what we do when we visit sihamba nabo land bank, sibize nabo IDC ukuthi mabancede lama farmers so that they are able to buy those things that you are talking about, that they need so much to ensure that their farmers, their farms can succeed and be productive. So interest yenzayo leyo, but kubaluleke kakhulu ukuthi siye kulezo indawo sizibonele ngokwethu ukuthi kwenzakalani. And when we were in all these areas, including in the Free State, where they are dealing with farming in apples, in the Western Cape, sibonile lento ukuthi abantu abamnyama bayawunida or bayafuna ukuthi bathole uncedo kakhulu ukuthi bakwazi baphumelele ngokulima. Sizoba supporta sisebenza ngama department ahlukile senza lento esibiza ukuthi the whole of government. So agricultural department ayiyodwa. The Department of Land and Reform is there, the Department of Finance, and all these state financing institutions. Ngoba ikhona imali lapho. Mayifike kwabantu abafuna ukulima. Ngiyabonga.
Siyabonga. The second supplementary question will be taken by Honorable Mentenkuna. It says Honorable Mente, so who is Mente today? Okay.
No, thank you, Speaker. DP, the EFF has been advancing the argument that if we really want to help the Black small-scale farmers, then government needs to have a deliberate strategy to say government is going to buy from them to supply things like hospitals, schools, and many other public institutions and entities. And we have not been getting a favorable response from government in terms of saying, why don't we set specific targets to say 50% or 40% of the supplies that government is going to buy is going to prioritize these Black small-scale farmers so that we can deal this problem that has been raised by the Competition Commission. But also you've put a racist in the Ministry of Agriculture who clearly doesn't believe in affirmative action, clearly doesn't believe in the empowerment of Black, small-scale farmers. So even if you do have, a program to develop the disadvantaged, as the Competition Commission has been saying, you are likely to experience sabotage because you have deployed a racist that is against Black empowerment, that is against affirmative action in the Ministry of Agriculture. So how do you expect then to have a cohesive strategy as a cabinet, as a government, when you've got this individual who is going to be pulling you to the opposite direction? Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Nzozi, in terms of our rules, you know that you used the language that you are not supposed to. Racist, you have to withdraw. Yes.
Who did I use it against, Speaker?
No. Honorable Lonzi. No. We all know the Minister of Agriculture. I do think no, it's not managing. It is my duty to protect all members of the House.
No, I think the DP heard my question. I withdraw, Chair.
Thank you for withdrawing. DP, you can
get your response.
Yes, I heard your question that we should be doing everything to support these farmers. What we're doing as cabinet is not really a responsibility of one minister. We try to intervene as the cabinet, as government. That's why you see me visiting these areas with a lot of ministers. So ministers must not think where they are deployed is their purview alone. We want them to report regularly to cabinet. So we are monitoring that area because the issue of land reform and agriculture are very related. And we are making sure that those ministers work together. That's why you have even an interministerial committee to ensure that colleagues pull things together. So with respect to the things that we need to do and support that is needed for farmers, particularly emerging Black farmers, it's not just whether a minister deployed there likes it or not. It's a program of government. And a program of government must be implemented. So far, I've not realized any difficulties or resistance working with the minister deployed there. I go around with them and I can see that what government has decided to do as a priority, all ministers are working on that. We are watching everybody. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Deputy President. Honorable Matri.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Deputy President, while Competitions Commission's recommendations are commendable, many historically disadvantaged farmers still face barriers, such as lack of access to storage, logistics, and consistent market pricing. What concrete steps has the government taken beyond policy pronouncements to address these structural barriers that prevent small-scale farmers from benefiting meaningfully from national fresh produce markets?
Thank you, Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Machi. What I've said earlier is that as government, we are prioritizing what we hear is a problem when we interface with them. One of them, of course, is access to these markets. If you look at the fresh produce market, there are not many of them in the country. And you have the big ones, for instance, in Johannesburg, you have a huge fresh produce market, but the city of Joburg has ensured that there's access to many of emerging farmers, because it's okay for emerging farmers to produce, but they need to have markets. And some of those fresh produce markets must open their doors to them. We are working with them. Through the DDM, we are linking up with municipalities where you find these fresh produce market to ensure that as many as possible of these small-scale farmers must have access. So we don't just support them to be able to produce, have access to land and finance, but then they must have access to markets for their products. There was a question earlier about why doesn't government itself buy from these small farmers, etc., including people who are in fresh produce. We are doing that already. Many of the products that come from at that level do find their way into various government institutions as a way of us supporting them as well. But we are doing everything with respect to legislation to ensure that, as I said earlier, we deal with barriers to entry and so on, and make sure that people at that level are also succeeding. Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Deputy President. Honorable Three.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Deputy President, there can be no doubt that transformation is needed across all sectors in South Africa, including agriculture. The ACDP, however, differs on the how, as we believe that one of the levers of enduring or lasting transformation is in education and skills development. Now, Deputy President, has a monitoring framework, including the monitoring of education programs, skills development, and access to finance, been established to track annual sales by small-scale or historically disadvantaged farmers through the national fresh produce markets? And if not, why not? And if yes, how does government intend to use the monitoring framework to introduce the necessary interventions? Thank you.
Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Thing, one of the things that we are doing now, I'm working very closely with the Minister in the Presidency responsible for monitoring and evaluation. And as we go around the country, we go together as well. They are developing systems that will help us to be able to monitor properly this support that we are giving, whether it be finance, where people need support with respect to skills. The department, as led by the Minister of Monitoring, is exactly doing that. And it reports to Cabinet on the weaknesses and successes. and we are able then to look at where are the loopholes. Is it at policy level, or is it administrative? Is it just the issue of finance that is required and people don't have access to finance or skills? All that is in that matrix as led by the minister to be able to inform our interventions properly. So we are doing it. Obviously, with time, we'll be able to review and see if our interventions are making an impact in what we want to achieve. But we have started with that process. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Deputy President. We're moving to the next question. Question 15 that has been asked by the Chief Whip of the Democratic Alliance, Honorable Michalakis. The question is about whether the Deputy President in his capacity as Chairperson of the Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cluster has found that the interventions to bolster crime intelligence in the South African Police Service to stem gangsterism and other forms of violent crimes have been effective. If not, why not? If so, what are the reasons whereupon he has found that the intervention has been effective? The follow-up question will be taken by Honorable Nodada, but for now, David President, you can answer the main question.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me welcome the critical question raised by Honorable Michalakis. Honorable Speaker, under the Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cluster, what we call JCPS, several measures have been introduced to restore the integrity and performance of the SAPS crime intelligence. The SAPS has developed what we call the National Anti-Gang Strategy, aimed at dismantling gang-related criminal networks through intelligence gathering, proactive policing, community engagement, and stakeholder collaboration. The SAPS is further expanding the scope of these anti-gang units.
Order, Honorable Matlodi, can you please mute Honorable Maseko? Thank you, Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I was saying that the SAPS is further expanding the scope of the anti-gang units to include gang-related cases such as drug trafficking, shootings, murders, and we are looking at this beyond just the Western Cape, but we're also now looking at the Eastern Cape and Gauteng. The units will also be supported by operations like Operation Shanyela and Operation Volumgoti, particularly in Gauteng, the Free State, where you have mines. The Acting Minister of Police, Professor Firoz Kachalia, announced a multi-anti-gang plan in the Western Cape already, involving the National Prosecuting Authority, Asset Forfeiture Unit, Special Investigating Unit, and the SAPS itself. And this is to ensure that we combat gangsterism and extortion. This plan has already been finalized with funding allocated for implementation. Furthermore, SAPS has increased what we call digital analytics, surveillance, and data-driven policing resources to enhance intelligence-led operations, particularly in hotspot areas, including ongoing collaboration with the South African Revenue Services, SARS, to develop strategies targeting organized crimes, financial infrastructure through cross-border business networks. Honorable Speaker, the ongoing Madlanga Commission of Inquiry and the ad hoc committee investigating allegations by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi will shed more light on what needs to be done to strengthen the criminal justice system as a whole and the police service in particular. For now, we will refrain from specific commentary about the processes as they are still underway. We will continue to strengthen our crime intelligence division to counter organized crime, gangsterism, and violent criminality in hotspot areas through structural and technological interventions, including community policing forums, that is our CPFs in many of our communities. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Notata.
Manbulela Somlomo. Deputy President, the ANC majority over the 30 years has failed in the fight against drugs and gang tourism. SAPS is broken, which the acting minister has admitted. Meanwhile, the DA-run city of Cape Town will spend 7 billion doing South African Police Service's job for them. There are roughly 1,300 fewer SAPS officers in Cape Town today than 4 years ago. Over the same period, Cape Metro Police deployed over 1,200 new officers to fight crime. In fact, the Cape Metro Police has more operational vehicles than SAPS to patrol. As partners in government and in the interest of keeping communities safe, do you agree or disagree that SAPS is broken? And if so, why should Cape Town not have more powers to continue its work in stopping the bloodshed? Thank you so much.
Honorable Deputy President, just to say that Honorable Notata, the last question is a new one in your supplementary because it now deals with the devolution of powers, which is not the central question that has been asked by Deputy President will answer. I just wanted to remind you, honorable members, again, on Rule 142, subsection 7. You can't have more question in your supplementary. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable, note that there is ongoing collaboration out there by national government and provinces. And that's why I was indicating that the acting minister has announced this anti-gang plan in the Western Cape. It means they'll work with the Western Cape. So it's not a question of either or. What we need here is collaboration. So if the Western Cape is already doing well, they have more vehicles.
Deputy Minister, I'm not sure Deputy Minister of which department, please mute.
He was raising a point of order.
No, Deputy President.
Oh.
Honorable members, there is one presiding officer who is the one that is directing today's proceedings. Deputy President, I will guide you.
Yes.
The others will just hear it as music. Thank you.
The others are regarded as howling. So I was saying, Honorable Nota, that I think we should go for collaboration. We want to work with the Western Cape as national government, and that's why the acting minister is here. So if there are efforts in the Western Cape that the Western Cape is pushing to fight gang-related violence and drugs and so on, it's in the interest of the Western Cape to work with national government. You may think that you have more resources than us, but it's just a wish. We have more resources as national government, so work with us. We deploy resources all over the country. We have a country to run, but some of the resources we will deploy in the Western Cape. And all we're calling for is collaboration, because dealing with crime should not be politicized. I think when we deal with crime, we must be serious about it. We must not play politics. We want to deal with gangsters. We want to deal with drugs wherever they are. Whether it's Western Cape, Gauteng, we're going to go for this gangsters and this drug peddlers. Let's just strengthen. That's why I was also mentioning that the CPFs themselves must be drawn to this, because these people live in our communities. We know them. So let's pull everything together. But thank you for your question.
The next supplementary question will be by Honorable Matafa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Deputy President, we agree with you that gangsterism is a serious security concern as we keep losing lives of young people due to gang-related crimes. Gangsterism cannot be isolated from the broader socio-economic challenges that our country faces, emanating in the main from the legacy of separate development of the apartheid regime. How will the government mobilize the society in line with the approach of whole of government and whole of society to deal with gangsterism? Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Matafa. I think, as I said earlier, that I think fighting gangsterism needs collaboration. So you're quite right. The whole of government approach, it's not just a policing matter, because we also live in a situation with high levels of unemployment. We need to ensure that we grow our economy, train young people. They must have access to markets, to employment. So it's a strategy that must be over and all encompassing to ensure that we deal with economic issues, with social issues, with violence, and looking at how people live in communities. Social conditions also give rise to crime and violence. So our approach can never be that it's just a policing matter. So I agree with you that we need to ensure that it's a whole of government approach. We must bring all players on board, but including communities themselves. Let's not leave communities behind. The power is always in communities. We must not take that lightly and think you can bring police and soldiers, they'll resolve our problems. We do need communities on board. Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you. The next question is from the Leader of Opposition. Has there been a change?
A very big change, Speaker. A very big change.
So you are now a Leader of Opposition?
Yes, and I'm also the Chief Whip. We've consolidated the positions.
Good to know. I was not informed, but now I can see that you are taking the question.
I'm taking over, Speaker. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm taking over on behalf of the Leader of the official opposition, the mighty MKP, in Zengatatan. Deputy President, given that violent crime, extortion rackets, and gang-related killings continue to spiral even in provinces where you've had all these interventions or were piloted, and considering that several crime intelligence officers themselves have been implicated in aiding syndicates, how can you, in good faith, claim that these interventions are working? Will you concede that what we have here is not failure of resources, but the failure of leadership, political will, and accountability within the very crime intelligence structures that you lead as DP? Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Montana, the JCPS cluster is intended to pull everybody together. That's the cluster that I chair in Cabinet. And we are looking at the problems broadly. As you say, it's not just resources. You need to look at the human resources as well in that context, not just funding, because you may have all this, the vehicles and everything, but you must look at your human resources. Do you have the right people? Are they properly trained? Is there a problem of corruption? And that's why I was saying some of the revelations now in the Madlanga Commission just show exactly how much we need to do to clean that environment of policing. So it's important that we as Cabinet should give that leadership to ensure that the leadership of the police and other structures of our security cluster are able to utilize the resources that we have to ensure the effective way of fighting crime. So there is indication now that there are glaring weaknesses there within the police cluster, that we do have people who probably should not have been there. So it's going to be up to us as government to move with speed once these things are finalized, to ensure that we put the right people in place and monitor what they do, so that we don't find that after 5 years that, hey, we have had the wrong people here. I think even when we look at this anti-gang plan that we are coming with, it's all encompassing. It's looking at broad approach that will not only be anchored on policing by SAPS, but bringing other elements as well. So the issue of leadership is critical in the police, and I'm definitely convinced that a lot of cleaning up will have to be made to ensure that we can put these units into their proper location to do proper work and ensure that they are not infested by wrong people who should not have been there in the first place. So we will do the cleanup. Yeah, in political level, we are fine.
Thank you very much, Deputy President, and congratulations to the new leader of the opposition. Dr. M.A. Maimane.
Thank you, Speaker. Deputy President, I went to Mitchell's Plain. I met a young woman, her mother, whose child Naima had been killed in a gang-related violence. I went to the police station to go find out what happens to that investigation. And the community told me they could not trust the police. In fact, the HRSC says that 1 in 4 citizens has got trust in the police. So when we describe this question of gangsterism and intelligence, we know members of the community know who the gangsters, who the criminals are. The problem is this, Mr. Deputy President. 15,000 of your police officers were found to be involved in misconduct. This is not just misconduct, it's rape, it's murder, it's serious crimes. How many of those were prosecuted? Less than 750, less than 5%. Deputy President, if the police themselves are committing crimes and they are not being investigated, how on earth do we hope citizens will trust them? My question to you is, what practical steps are you going to take to ensure that IPID does its job, and that ultimately, like you say, we want to clean out the bad apples?
Honorable Member, your time is up.
Let's act against the police if we're going to restore confidence. Please, Deputy President.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Your last word, Honorable Maimane, says, let's act against the bad apples in the police force. I agree with you. Yeah, we are doing it. We have started, and we will in time be able to report to this House on the progress we are making, because we can't sit as national government and say, well, it's fine, people don't trust the police, so what? We need to intervene, and we are. And remember, people will trust police when they say that we as government are removing the bad apples, putting the right people. We will not win overnight, of course. I mean, the police force is a big force all over the country. There was a time, for instance, if I can share with you, that in deploying in the Western Cape, we decided, let's bring those officers who are not from here, so that, you know, we see whether we can make progress. It does work, and we are using that in different areas. We'll deploy in KZN, people who are not from KZN, but it's something that we are watching very closely. We are discussing now with the acting minister to ensure that we bring trust to communities. People must see that police that are deployed are working with them. It's just that in many areas, I've realized that the CPF have been weakened, and I think we need to strengthen them. Because as you say, Honorable Maimani, communities in the main, in most cases, know the people who are selling drugs. They live amongst us. Some of them are our brothers and children, but we keep quiet as communities. So that level of consciousness must be raised to say we must not harbor criminals ourselves as communities. The police work is going to be very difficult if we as communities hide them amongst ourselves. So, but definitely we'll make sure that the IPIT is effective and it's got the right people there to drive, so that police who are not doing their work, who are doing wrong things, must be removed, so that we keep the right men and women in blue who are dedicated to serve this country. Thank you very much, Honorable Mayor.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. We now move to question 16, asked by Honorable Ndalane to the Deputy President. The question is, considering that the issue of land reform is critical for the transformation of the agricultural sector to the same degree that the development of small and medium-scale farmers is vital for ensuring food security and increasing agricultural exports. As the chair of the National Dialogue Interministerial Committee, and in cooperation with the Minister of Agriculture and Minister of Land Reform and Rural Development, what performance targets have been set to achieve land reform and agricultural development since the formation of the Government of National Unity? And what integrated approach is being developed by the IMC to holistically support infrastructure development in rural areas in order to support the growth of the agricultural sector? Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me welcome this important matter raised by Honorable Ndalane. Honorable Speaker, government is dedicated to advancing land reform and agriculture development with the Interministerial Committee on Agriculture and Land Reform, providing political and strategic leadership on these issues. In terms of targets for land reform, the Department of Land Reform and Rural Development has been working towards allocating 200,000 hectares of land between 2024 towards 2029. And this is to ensure equitable land access and improved tenure security. This work will build on significant progress achieved during the previous administration of the ANC-led government. Amongst other matters, the following progress have been reported to the Interministerial Committee on Land Reform and Agriculture. The first one is that the Commission on Restitution of Land Rights reported that a total of more than 3 million hectares of land were settled in the period between 1995 and the 31st of December 2024. A total of nearly 2.4 million individuals, including more than 1,000 persons with disabilities, about 1.275, and 466.5 households, including 180,000 female-headed households, benefited from these settlements. Since 2019, The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure has released 125 land parcels measuring more than 25,000 hectares for land redistribution. As of April of this year, the Department of Human Settlement had already released 44 land parcels measuring 2.0424 hectares in extent. Power of attorneys, POAs, have been issued to enable development planning. Regarding agricultural development, the Agricultural Agro-Processing Master Plan is one of the key priorities identified by the Medium Development Plan 2024 to 2029. The plan aims to increase Black commercial farm holders, small farm holders, expand agro-processing, boost exports, and create jobs by unlocking productive land, financing and scaling farmer support, expediting land restitution and redistribution through robust post-settlement packages, infrastructure, extensions, markets, and secure tenure. The Department of Agriculture plans to boost agricultural export by 5% over 5 years to improve food security, job creation, and sector growth. This will be achieved through the implementation of the Agricultural Agro-Processing Master Plan, strengthening partnerships, and streamlining trade processes. This includes reviving agreements and leveraging on the African Continental Free Trade Area to open more opportunities across the continent. Through the proactive land acquisition policy, we aim to expedite state grant processes by setting clear targets and timeframes, enabling direct transfer or free leaseholds for households with limited land access, subsistence production, and small-scale farmers. One of the key interventions managed by the National Department of Agriculture in partnership with provincial departments of agriculture is what we call the Comprehensive Agricultural Support Program. Through this program, the Department of Agriculture plans to support approximately 12,000 smallholding producers, more than 7,000 red meat producers, and more than 6,000 grain commodity producers during the 2025-2026 financial year. Government is also addressing land rehabilitation, conservation, agriculture, development of agro-ecosystems management plans, and farm management plans for approximately 700 hectares. Furthermore, the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure support rural farming communities through what they call Welisizwe Rural Bridges Program, which addresses infrastructure backlogs by constructing bridges to improve access to services and economic opportunities. Honorable Speaker, government will continue to intensify efforts to support our farmers, improve logistics, networks, and rural supply chains, as well as open new export markets to significantly expand the agricultural sector. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy President. I have been informed that the Honourable Makgakga will take charge of the first question on behalf of the Honourable Ndladlane in accordance with Rule 13710A, and I now recognise you, Member.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Good afternoon, DP. And I know that we're still dealing with the original sin.
Yes.
The land question as imposed by the previous regime. emerging farmers in rural communities face significant constraint regarding productive use of agricultural land due to limited access to finance and markets. Can the Deputy President expand on what coordinated interventions to intensify progress in the implementation of the Integrated Rural Development Sector Strategy of 2023 to ignite sustainable agro-industry and accelerated rural economic development through infrastructure and technological advances? Thanks, sir.
The Honourable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Honourable Makaka, as I mentioned earlier, there are a number of initiatives now that are in place to support rural development. And as I said earlier, it's really a partnership in the main between the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Rural Development and Land Reform. A lot of land is now being released in various areas. We know that in the past, there was a lot of complaint that this process is slow of releasing land. We are now fast tracking the release of land. So the 12,000 hectares I spoke about is just the beginning. We're going to push for more and more hectares. And I had the opportunity to travel with the two ministers to many of the rural areas where we are able to ensure that we do empower communities to be able to access land. So it's something that we are busy with. There's also what they call Go Farming, which is a partnership with South African breweries. So we welcome the private sector as well when it comes on board to help us to bring resources to be able to make sure that land reform moves now a bit faster. But as you can see from all I was raising here, that there are a lot of initiatives now, a lot of parcels of land that are being made available to people who are landless. As you correctly observed, that we are dealing with the original sin. We need to get it right. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Nana.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Deputy President, at the tail end of your main response, you mentioned words like support, support, support. But please tell me, how do you reconcile that with the collapse of the once well-acclaimed Zebedela Citrus estate in Bobo, which at the time of transfer, it was valued at just over 61 million. Today, it stands as a painful example of how corruption and poor management have undermined and crippled land reform. This estate, DP, as you will know, once the largest citrus producer in the Southern Hemisphere, now lies in ruins like so many other restituted farms. How does one justify pouring millions into land reform projects that end up failing? And what decisive action is being taken to end 30 years of corruption?
Thank you, Honourable Nana.
And lack of post-settlement support?
The Honourable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Honourable Nana, we are very conscious of the fact that there are institutions that were very good in the past, which have been ruined. And that's why in our programs now, we are setting up and resetting some of these initiatives. As I've said, we are speeding up the allocation of land, release of land, and we're getting our ministers work closely together. We bring in the government financing institutions The Land Bank now has become very active in supporting people who acquire land, which has been a bit of a challenge in the past. But the other institutions as well, the IDC and others are coming to the party, and the ministers are coordinating this very well. So we are going to ensure that institutions that are intended to make sure that we succeed with implementation are jealously guarded, given support to make sure that they can do their work, they have access to enough resources. That's what we're going to do, so that we don't go back to that problem that you have observed, that some of the institutions have been run down. We are rebuilding now, and we are going to make sure that these institutions are put to effective use. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Niehaus.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honorable Deputy President, you speak about speeding up land reform. But the latest Lamosa report to the Land Court indicate that the state will not be able to resolve all the land claims lodged in 1998 for the next 30 years. This means that the other land claims lodged after the enactment of the Land Restitution Amendment Act will only start being processed after 30 years. By then, almost everyone who had lodged those claims will practically have passed on. Under these circumstances, does the restitution program of land reform make sense? If not, what considerations are you taking into account about its continued existence? Thank you.
The Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Your observation is correct, Honorable Niehaus. It's in the report, but we are looking exactly at that and looking at the costs of moving that slow. One of the things we found out was the disputes when it comes to redistribution of land. The disputes are such that they hold back the process. So we are looking at the dispute resolution mechanism that will help us to be able to unlock that process, because we don't have 30 years to wait to unlock these disputes that has made us not to move. So it's something that we are dealing with, because if you look at the report, it says if we are not able to resolve these ones, we are not able to start even with the other ones. So it's in our interest to be able to move faster. And if we can get the process right, which we are now reviewing of dealing with disputes faster, we will be able to ensure that the process starts moving faster. It is in our interest to ensure that people get access to land quicker. Nobody has 30 years to wait. So we are very conscious of that, and we are intervening to make sure that we speed up the process once more. Thank you, Honorable Member, for the question.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Boshoff.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker and Deputy President. The original question, not the original sin, the original question referred to the importance of land reform in terms of the transformation of South Africa and in terms of food security for the population of South Africa. Now, in terms of both these, you gave some answers that we have to trust that from now on it will be better because there will be better support and the process will be sped up. Maybe it's true, maybe not. But what I would like to engage you on is the entry level, the entry barriers for being able to start farming, which is actually the same for white or black beginner farmers. Nobody can start farming today easily because it's just so difficult. And one of the main reasons why it's so difficult is because of the total decay of rural infrastructure. Something not within the power of the Department of Rural Development to take up all the problems of all the departments, which means that the individual entrepreneur has to stand in for all the infrastructure, social and physical. Thank you.
The Honourable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Honourable Bosho, you're quite right. We have to deal with rural infrastructure. The whole of government approach is intended for exactly that. Now, when we go to these areas dealing with land reform, we do come across these challenges. In fact, when I was in Enyandeni recently, one of the issues that was raised sharply with me was the road. That look, there's a problem here with the road. We are not able to do our work properly because it's difficult to move around here. So for us to ensure food security, for farmers to be able to do their work, we as government must ensure that basic infrastructure is there. Roads, proper roads for them to move around, electricity, communication, water. And that's what we are busy dealing with. So you're quite right when you say that I said things will be better because they must be better. We're not going to stand one place. And that's why when I go to these areas, I take many ministers with me. I say to them, they are complaining about the road, deal with it. They are complaining about water, deal with it. So that when we go back, we can say to people who have access land, yes, you can farm, we are sorting out the road. Because once they produce products there for food security, they must take them to the markets. You don't have the road, they can't do that. So we are definitely addressing that as we speak. You'll see when we give our reports in the coming year, you'll see that things would have improved much, much more. I thank you for the question.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy President. We now move on to question number 17, which has been asked by the Honourable Ngobeni. The question is, in light of the Tshwane Metropolitan Municipality Administration securing a landmark agreement with Eskom to settle the 6.67 billion debt inherited from the previous administration of the specified municipality, and with 1 billion already paid and interest waive over a 5-year plan, what rapid response intervention plans has he put in place to ensure that such governance turnarounds are replicated across municipalities that owe outstanding debt to Eskom? The Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Let me welcome this important question raised by Honourable Ngobeni. Honourable Deputy Speaker, escalating municipal debt to Eskom is a major concern to government, as it continues to pose a risk to the financial sustainability of Eskom. As of July this year, the total overdue municipal debt had reached 102 billion rands, up from 20 billion rands in the financial year 2019. According to Eskom, this amount could exceed 300 billion rand in the year 2030 if there is no urgent intervention. Now, as part of the ongoing effort to address this challenge, the Eskom board has approved a mechanism called Distribution Agency Agreement, DAA, which is a long-term contract between a municipality and Eskom. This arrangement forms part of what we call Active Partnership Initiative. This model seeks to restore the technical and financial sustainability in a distressed municipality through the following intervention. The first one, the municipality will appoint ESCOM as a service delivery agent for its distribution businesses. Then through the DAA, this will enable an ESCOM to collect revenue, manage operations, and maintain the infrastructure on behalf of that municipality. Third, it will then establish a ring-fence revenue account to enhance transparency and ring-fence ESCOM's recoverables and municipalities' entitlements. And lastly but not least, the intervention also involves skills transfer, operational reforms, and a structured exit plan, because we're not intending for this to be a permanent arrangement. So there must be an exit plan to return redistribution operations to a municipality after meeting competency benchmarks. Honorable Deputy Speaker, it is worth noting that the participation of municipalities in this DAA is voluntary, and municipalities retain their license to reticulate and redistribute electricity. With regard to Tshwane Metropolitan Municipality, that agreement with ESCOM was settled through a court process, which included litigation processes, so it may not necessarily be replicated by other municipalities. However, struggling municipalities are encouraged to consider active partnership with ESCOM through the implementation of the DAA. The active partnership model, for instance, implemented by Malutia Phofung municipality in the Free State province and the Mfuleni local municipality in Gauteng, have significantly reduced the debt of the worst performing municipalities in electricity distribution, demonstrating the success of this model. Furthermore, the National Treasury is providing assistance to 71 municipalities through what they call the Debt Relief Program, which allows for the write-off of a portion of their areas if they meet strict financial management standards. Aligned with the DDM and municipal support and intervention framework, government, ESCOM, business, and state institutions will all together continue to support the struggling municipalities to meet their financial obligations and improve service delivery. I thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Ngubane.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. It's the Honorable Ngobeni.
My apologies.
That's fine. There's no problem, Deputy Speaker. Thank you, Deputy President. DP, recognizing that multiple failed de-administration left the city of Tshwane insolvent, indebted on the brink of an asset attachment by ESCOM, with irregular expenditure escalating.
Honorable Ngubeni, you have frozen. Could you perhaps try again?
Yeah, they're still busy.
Honorable Ngubeni, can you please try to reconnect? Honorable Letlape, I see that you are online. I don't know if you can take over the question, but let's try again for Honorable Ngubeni. I think we have a problem there, but I will see if the Honorable Ngubeni does rejoin Deputy President, then we will give her the opportunity. So we will proceed. And the next question will be asked by the Honorable Nkosi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Deputy President. Given that a key element of sustainable municipal finance is effective revenue collection, which includes accurately granting subsidies. What specific measures are being implemented to ensure the rapid and accurate registration of all eligible indigent beneficiaries and the efficient use of the ring-fenced electricity revenue to cover their entitled free basic services as a prerequisite for municipalities to remain compliant with the National Treasurer Debt Relief Program conditions? Thank you.
The Honourable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honourable Nkosi. It is true that many municipalities struggle to collect revenue, not necessarily from households, but also from businesses. And once they struggle to collect revenue, it makes it difficult for them to be able to provide services and manage the affairs of the municipality. One of the things that has been done, particularly when it comes to household, was to introduce what is called the standardized indigent policy framework, because we know that within households, in our communities, there are people who can't afford, elderly people, pensioners, and so on. So efforts are being taken to make sure that you have a proper indigent policy framework, because that also has been abused in the past, that you have an indigent policy that just everybody wants to be covered by it, even people who can afford. So we are working on that with municipalities to ensure that, yes, indeed, let's assist those who can't afford, but those who can't afford must pay. What municipalities must do, and I know that in some areas people are reluctant, is to continue to introduce prepaid meters. I know some people in the communities don't like that, but the discipline of prepaid is that you will consume as you can afford. If municipalities just supply electricity to everybody and hope that they will pay, they will not be able to come out of this problem. People must access electricity as they afford it, and then we make it affordable for indigents in line with the policy. Of course, Honourable Deputy Speaker, there is another challenge of criminality. In the township, they call it izinyokanyok. I don't know if Honourable MPs know what that is. Izinyokanyok. You are from townships? No, you don't know izinyokanyok. You know. It's in Kaishich. So izinyokanyok, Honourable Deputy Speaker, is where the criminal elements in our communities will connect the poor. So it's not necessarily the poor connecting themselves. It's a criminal element. They actually charge the poor. The poor do pay, but the criminal element become ESCOM themselves. Yeah, they go, they connect and connect. They charge the communities and they collect the money. So this thing that poor communities are criminals, they are stealing electricity is not true. There are people who are stealing and they steal from the communities as well. The poor communities are paying. So what my municipality must do, Honourable Deputy Speaker, as I conclude, is that they must connect people properly as municipalities. Then you can do away with this nyok. If you as a municipality make sure that everybody is connected properly, including the people who are in informal settlements, they do pay. But if we don't connect them, there is a nyoga comes. They connect them, they charge them, but that money won't go to ESCOM. So we would like to have a situation where municipalities must connect everybody properly to the grid, so that they can then be able to collect. But where possible, they must do it through prepaid meters. Because I know that if I don't have money, I won't have electricity. But if I'm connected, if I don't have money, I'll continue to use it. And the next thing I say to ESCOM, well, I can't pay. So I think that's what we should do. Thank you, Honorable Member, for the question.
Thank you, Deputy President. I'm now going to revert back to the Honourable Ngubeni, who seems to be online. Honourable Ngubeni, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. I do apologize. My line just went dead. I will not put my video on. Deputy President, my question was recognizing that multiple failed DA administration left the city of Tshwane insolvent, indebted, and on the brink of asset attachment by ESCOM, with irregular expenditure escalating to 13 billion. Does the Deputy President agree that meaningful turnaround strategies depend on effective and competent leadership within constructive coalitions, as demonstrated by Dr. Nasipi Moya and the current multi-party coalition in Tshwane?
The Honourable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker, and thank you to Honourable Ngubeni for the question. Yes, I think Honorable Nasipi Moya should be supported as she's fixing that city that was messed up by the DA. She really has my support. Yes. You know, the problem is that some of us, particularly the DA, we don't want to accept when our members are messing up. Please just accept that, no, in Tshwane, no, you failed. Because once you accept that, you'll be able to put better people. But the problem is that the DA continue to protect somebody who's failing them. So I support Dr. Nasipi Moya, fix the city of Tshwane, so that DA can learn something from others as well. Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, Deputy Speaker.
The next supplement, Honourable Lonzi, what is your point of order?
Oh, thank you, Deputy Speaker. No, I just wanted to remind, I think the President forgot MMC Obakeng and MMC Chekofatso in the city of Tshwane. Thank you, Speaker.
Honourable Member, that is not a point of order. We will proceed, and the next question is asked by the Honourable Molefe.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy President, you're correct that the debt of the municipalities to ESCOM will increase from 102 billion to 300 billion. But the reality is, it's not just a management problem. Economic growth is 1%. Inflation is at about 3.4%. Now they want to revise it to 3%, the target. And unemployment is at 40%. And increases in wages are at about 8%. But electricity tariffs are increasing at close to 20%. So electricity is increasing faster than inflation, faster than increases in wages, and also way faster than inflation. So people can't afford electricity. So what this results in is that every year the ESCOM comes and asks for a write-off. And in turn, ESCOM, the municipalities ask for write-off. In turn, ESCOM also asks for write-off. So my question is, what kind of debt management strategy, or what is the basis of the philosophy?
Honourable Member, your time has expired.
What debt management strategy is behind all of this mess? Thank you.
The Honourable Deputy President.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I was already reading his mind of what you want to ask me. The proper debt management strategy is that must ensure affordability. It's something that we're discussing with the Minister of Electricity recently, that sometimes as South Africa, we've priced ourselves off the market. You have seen with Honorable Molefe, with the smelters. For instance, we lost a lot of smelters because of the price of electricity, and they would go to other countries and so on. Now they are coming back because we are managing the price of electricity down. And the reason why that is so is because of the success of generation. Many of our power stations are coming on board now and so on. So you are quite right that electricity in South Africa is expensive. And the way we must do it is to ensure that we generate enough to ensure that we can keep the prices affordable. I can't say you can keep it down, but there is enough effort from national government to ensure that we make it affordable to our people, but to industry as well. Because when electricity is expensive for the industry, they leave and go to other destinations. So it's something that we are quite conscious of, to ensure that we keep tariffs affordable to South Africans by generating enough and making sure that the power stations are working and so on, so that people don't leave and go to other destinations. But I take your point that we must continue to look at this, the price of electricity. Yeah. There's another howler next to me making a good point.
Honourable members, honourable members, may I also remind you that we do not have interpersonal discussions. Please speak through the chair. Deputy President, have you concluded?
Yes, I've concluded to say that industry needs affordable electricity, household needs affordable electricity. If we continue to generate, I mean, the good news is that the energy availability factor is quite at a good level. I'm sure you've heard the Minister of Electricity say, for the first time, we're hovering about 70% of electricity availability. So we are in a good space to be able to ensure that we provide affordable electricity across the board, to industry, to households, to the smelters, and to everybody. And that's how we can grow the economy as well. And as long as the economy grows and grows faster, you can keep the price of electricity affordable. Not an easy thing, but we are trying our best. Thank you, Honourable Deputy.
The last supplementary question, Honourable Molefe, is it a point of order? Because you cannot now go into a debate with the Deputy President.
I'm not going into a debate. I'm just saying, I think the Deputy President missed my question, because my question really was about the strategy to manage these write-offs and the debt that accumulates as a result of this pricing. I agree with him that we've got a problem of pricing, and he just repeated that we have a problem of pricing. But what is the strategy to get out of the debt write-offs?
Honourable Member, I will allow the Deputy President, we have allowed it earlier, that a question be answered. Afterwards, Deputy President.
Oh, thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Honourable Molefe, it's really an ESCOM management tool, so to speak. It's very difficult to say to them whether you do away with write-offs or not. They look at the clientele and they make deals. For instance, when I was speaking about some of the municipalities earlier, I did indicate that in some of them, they said, okay, we will write off if you settle this or if you stick to this. It's a strategy for them because you can't beat a dead horse. It won't wake up. So ESCOM sometimes decide that here, it doesn't matter what we do, we won't get the money. But if we write off, the dead horse will wake up. It can now afford going forward. But if you want to deal with the backlog, it won't wake up. It's dead. So, but it's their strategy. I'm just thinking aloud. I'm not sure what they are thinking as ESCOM, but I can say that they're not taking only that strategy of write-off. In some instances, they insist. That's why they came with this DAA, where they enter into agreements with municipalities, and it is working. So it's a multi-pronged approach that they are using. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Mlif.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Kwankwa. Honorable Kwankwa, are you online?
Speaker, sorry, they muted me. Sorry, I was muted. I muted.
Please proceed.
Yes. Deputy President, going back to the distribution agency agreements that you spoke about, which are intended to manage revenue directly in defaulting municipalities, we are of the view that this does not address the underlying root causes of the failures of poor municipalities in particular to meet their financial obligations towards ESCOM. For instance, as already, I think you've highlighted that the National Treasury's Municipal Debt Relief Program launched in 2023 to address the cycle of municipal debt owed to ESCOM, which allowed for the write-off of historic arrears provided municipalities complied with strict payment conditions. It has been reported as of March that 63 out of 71 municipalities remain in arrears in their current accounts. And most of these municipalities, including Raymond Mhlaba, are unable to collect sufficient revenue due to low economic activity and high reliance on social grants. Given these issues, President, you spoke about a dead horse, but we should have revived the dead horse before it died. Is that, given these issues, what alternative measures has government considered to manage the ESCOM debt in municipalities, especially for municipalities that are not economically viable and financially capable of meeting these obligations?
The Honourable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Yes, indeed, there are many municipalities that are struggling with their historic areas. That's why I'm saying the DAA itself, Honourable Nkwanka, is not the only approach ESCOM is using. There are municipalities that are able, as I indicated earlier, to enter into agreements with ESCOM in line with that DAA agreement. But there are others that, unless ESCOM writes off, they are not able to pick up. So I think it's a combination of approach by ESCOM, but yes, it won't necessarily address the underlying challenges of the municipalities. That's why we need the whole of government. Because ESCOM can say, okay, this municipality in KZN, Hlabuyalingana, we're going to write off to allow them to start again. But unless there's another intervention on building the local economy, they may not succeed. So I agree with you that the write-off by ESCOM is not a panacea for a municipality working well. ESCOM is looking at whether they can pay them. Somebody else must look at whether the municipality can function. Local economic development is taking place. There are investments being drawn into that area. So the whole of government approach comes in. That's where we look at the municipalities and support them and make sure they can do their work so that they can pay ESCOM. But when ESCOM writes off, it then assists the municipality to say, okay, we've taken this, burden from you, focus on building the municipality, local economic development, grow your area, and then you are able to pay. But then the other issues come in, connectivity of people, is the industry in that area, are they paying ESCOM? How do you deal with indigents? So it's a whole combination of things that you have to deal with. But otherwise, thank you very much, Honorable Nkwanko, for the question. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
The last question has been asked by the Honourable Sene. The question is, given that the 6th South African HIV Prevalence, Incidence and Behaviour Survey released by the Human Sciences Research Council at the 25th International AIDS Conference held in July 2024 in Munich, Germany, revealed that females continue to be disproportionately affected by HIV, with a 16.4% prevalence compared to the 8.8% prevalence in males. What has he found to be the impact of government strategies towards addressing the disproportionate HIV prevalence in women and girls to date? The Honourable Deputy President.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, let me welcome this important issue raised by Honourable Sene. Honourable Deputy Speaker, the Human Sciences Research Council's 6th South African HIV Prevalence, Incidence and Behaviour Survey reveals that females, particularly those aged between 15 and 24 years, are disproportionately affected by HIV, with a prevalence of 16.4% compared to males at 8.8%, highlighting the need to address social drivers and inequalities that hinder progress towards ending AIDS in the country. The South African National AIDS Council, which I chair, has developed a robust policy framework, like what we call the NSP, National Strategic Plan for HIV, TB, and STIs 2023 to 2028. This is also, in addition to that, an HIV prevention roadmap 2025 to 2028, and the National Integrated Sexual and Reproductive Health and Rights Policy, which prioritizes adolescent girls and young women, acknowledging gender inequality, violence, and human rights barriers as key drivers. Despite these challenges identified by the 6th HIV Prevalence Survey, government has improved access to comprehensive health services. HIV testing, treatment, sexually transmitted infections, management, contraception, availability of condoms, and oral pre-exposure prophylaxis. Furthermore, SANAC is implementing what we call Zikhala Kanjani, Youth HIV Prevention Strategy. This is really targeting young people, particularly adolescents, girls, and women, but also engaging boys and men and promoting mental health through digital campaigns as well. Moreover, the Department of Health also utilizes what they call BeWise. It's a technology platform to provide HIV prevention, treatment, and sexual and reproductive health information to adolescent girls and young women. The Department of Basic Education is implementing what they call Keeping Girls in School. It's a program that provides comprehensive sexual education, life skills, and links girls to sexual reproductive health and HIV services, reducing HIV transmission rates as well. As government, we continue to fund youth-led organizations such as Love Life and Soul City to amplify prevention and treatment literacy and link young people to care. There's also what we call My Journey program and other related programs. Hundreds of thousands of adults and girls and young women, including young men, have been reached through these services that they cover testing, pre-exposure prophylaxis, gender-based violence prevention, psychosocial support, and education subsidies. Overall, the sustained rollout of antiretroviral therapy has increased life expectancy in South Africa and reduced HIV-related death. And women who account for the majority on treatment have benefited directly. Honorable Deputy Speaker, we remain committed to end the disproportionate impact of HIV on adolescent girls and young women, and to sustain inclusive, equitable prevention that leaves nobody behind. I thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
First supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Sene.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Deputy President, thank you for your encouraging response, which affirms the government's commitment to the safety, health, and well-being of women and girls in this country. You are correct, Deputy President, in emphasizing that HIV is not merely a health issue, but one that demands a whole-of-society approach. Addressing the socio-economic drivers of HIV, such as blesser culture, poverty, and unemployment, among the other factors, is essential to reducing the vulnerability of women and girls. Furthermore, concerted efforts must be strengthened to promote educational programs and ensure equitable access to prevention, treatment, and psychosocial support to those in need. Therefore, Deputy President, while we appreciate the crucial and critical programs you have mentioned, such as Be Wise and Zikhala Kanjani, it is equally important to assess their effectiveness in helping to reduce the high prevalence of HIV among women and girls in the country. To this end, Deputy President, how is the impact of these programs measured, and how are the findings used to inform future planning and interventions? Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
The Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Honorable Senator, you're quite right. We need to assess the impact. You'll recall that I did say earlier that our NSP, which is our plan in this regard, the National Strategic Plan, is looking at the period up to 2028. So we continue to measure as we move in that direction, because our idea is that by 2028, we want to have made a major impact in reducing the challenges of HIV and AIDS in the country. The idea is really to completely get rid of AIDS. So we're going to assess that NSP and look at its impact. There are also campaigns like She Conquers, which were brought to the national platform so that it can benefit young women and girls as well. So these programs are very important, but you're quite right, they need to be monitored, and we need to measure their impact and evaluate. So we will do so ahead of, before we even reach 2028. SANAC is going to measure and see whether we're making progress. If you look at some of the reports that we have given, you'll see that in many of our interventions, we are hovering around close to 95%. We're a bit lower in terms of treatment, particularly when it comes to men. And that's where we are focusing with the Minister of Health to encourage men to take treatment. I think there we are hovering around 86%. We're a bit behind when it comes to men, but we are monitoring that. And some of these campaigns that we are now implementing are particularly going to encourage, firstly, to ensure awareness, proper awareness, but also to ensure that people take treatment as is provided in our clinics. And that focus around treatment, especially on men, that's what we're going to do. But we should be able before 2028 to evaluate and see the proper impact of our interventions. At the moment, we are making a lot of progress, really hovering around 90%, 95%. We're getting there, but it really needs the communities to participate, to do their part, to take treatment, to ensure that they take our message of prevention and so on. But thank you very much for the question.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Clerk.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honourable Deputy Minister, as we all know, on Tuesday, SAPRA released a report to say that lenacapavir is now finalised and will be rolled out into the market February 2026. This is a game changer for HIV treatment. What is the department's communication strategy regarding the rollout of lenacapavir and to ensure that it addresses the disproportionate HIV prevalence in women and girls, and will government be able to fund this rollout? I thank you.
The Honourable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Thank you, Honourable Member, for the question. I haven't really discussed this matter with the Minister of Health in terms of their strategy and how they are going to intervene in this regard. We are planning a meeting of SANAC in the coming few weeks to deal with that. But the Minister of Health have assured me that at the moment they are able to operate and ensure the implementation of all these programs. You will recall that even when there was a threat that, funding is going to be cut, particularly the PEPFAR funding from the US, we were able to indicate that we'll still be able to implement our programs because we had budgeted quite sufficiently to be able to do this on our own. We were, of course, the portion of our budget, about 8 billion rand, comes from the PEPFAR funding from the US. In terms of the plan of the new administration to cancel that, it would have probably end sometime next year. But there has been some discussion that they may not necessarily cancel that. So all the programs that are coming our way, the Department of Health should be able to implement them. But we'll come back to you with what is a proper plan, having discussed with the minister. I can't say it right up front until I discuss with him. But thank you very much for the question.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Maki.
Thank you so much, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Honourable Deputy President, how is the department improved HIV education and youth engagement through digital platforms, peer networks, and school-based interventions to reach vulnerable teenage girls, especially those outside the formal education system? Thank you.
Honourable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker and Honourable Maki. Yes, our focus, as I said earlier, is on adolescents, young girls who we see are very vulnerable in this regard. So we're focusing a lot on them in terms of the awareness campaign, reaching up with education, what they need to do to protect themselves, etc. Those are all the programs that SANAC is pushing. The good thing with SANAC is that it's not a government department initiative. It's broader. We have in SANAC, we have the private sector, we have NGOs. So it's a very broad, multi-sectoral approach that makes us to reach out to a broader society. We're able to reach out to schools and various other institutions. And it's very important for us to focus on young girls. They are the most vulnerable. I think somebody else mentioned this thing earlier, adult men, young girls, and so on. And because they are desperate for resources, then they become victims. So we have to focus on that. But on the other hand as well, we must focus on the men themselves to make sure that we deal with this problem. But otherwise, we take it as a very important priority to address young girls and young women. Thank you, Honorable Maki. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Zibi. I see it is the Honorable Ghana.
Okay, some much to Deputy President. Loko mfumo nkarhi wu endla progress ngopfu eka mhaka ya treatment. U kuma ku ri mhaka ya awareness yi salela ndzhaku. Na ku ri manje ku nghena na leswa misinformation, especially around HIV. Ngopfu loko ku no ku kumiwe maybe philisi yin'wanyana leyi nga kota ku pfuna vanhu manje va tshemba ku ri no xitsongwatsongwana lexi a xa ha ri kona. Na ku va ti-program leti a ti ri koho khale ka TV ni le ka radio ta SABC Education a ta ha ri kona. So hi endla njhani ku ri mahungu lama ya fikelela evanhwini ngopfungopfu ku na report leyi yi kombisa ku ri eka province leti nga ti vulaka ku ri ti-rural provinces information a yi fiki kahle. So hi nga endla njhani ku tirhisa SANAC ku ri information yi fika tindhawu hinkwato ta Afrika-Dzonga. Ni khensa swinene mutshama xitulu.
The Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Khan. Tatan Khan na pfumelana na n'we kahle mhaka leyikulu hi yona leyi ya awareness. Ku ri a yi lavi ku ri vanhu va affected kusungula and then hi ku ne va ta kuma treatment. Because if we focus a lot on awareness, it means less burden on treatment. Treatment should really be the last resort. But where we are as a country, we can't ignore it because people are already affected. But na pfumelana na n'wina ku ri hi fane hi languta swinene ka leya awareness. But ti kona ti-program leti ti nga kona ha ti support hina ambusweni ta ku fana na va live va Soul City. Nhlambhi leyi nga xi endlaku hi ku ri hi swi ngetisa so that we have more of these programs to communicate, so that we educate people, because sometimes there's a lack of awareness and education that people find themselves vulnerable and in this platform. But it has really sata. Nikesengo for Tatan Ghana Inko. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker Inko.
That concludes questions to the Deputy President, and I thank the Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you.
Honourable members, I request that members stand and wait for the presiding officer and the mace to leave the chamber. And that concludes the business of the day, and the House is